And we are live. You already know who it is. My name is Mike Kyle, aka the Fantasy Vulture. I have over a decade worth of fantasy football experience and have continuously competed for fantasy championships over the course of the past 6 seasons. Let's make it 7 in 2020. But enough of me. I'm here for you on today's episode of the FV Show. We're going to continue our weekly live stream series, breaking down every single Week 11 matchup, all through the lens of fantasy football. So if you're excited for this live stream, be sure to hit that like button down below like an open receiver downfield, and also smash that subscribe button power running back style so you never miss a video from me. And last but not least, you can follow me on all social media platforms at FF Vulture, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Twitch is coming soon. More on that in just a little bit. I love to answer all your start-sit questions, trade offers, waiver wire pickups, and anything else fantasy football related over there. Give me a second. I feel like my audio is really fucked up right now. So I'm just going to play around with a few things. First thing I want to do, let's see. We're getting some live editing right now. We're going to remove this. And I want to... What if we just hide this? Alright, does that sound better? I think it does. I think this sounds better. Let me know. Are we good? Hey, Troy. Afternoon, evening, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome, of course, to the stream. Does my audio sound okay? Hey, I started the stream without being on mute for the first 20 minutes, so that's definitely a positive, right? I think I'm okay. The thing that I'm trying out right now is I have myself in my ears, and I gotta be honest, I really don't like it. So we're gonna shift this off real quick. Monitor off. Alright, so I think we're good. I got myself out of my ears. I think Ryan is just trying to play jokes in the chat. Ryan, thank you so much for stopping over to the stream. So before we get started with the slate of games taking place on Sunday and Monday, I kind of want to dive back to Thursday if we can. Just because, you know, with games like that, when we have two offenses that are very good in the Seahawks and the Cardinals, the reason why I feel like I didn't have to make a video or even really tweet about that game, it was so... Wait, oh, now you can't hear me? Oh, no. We're back? We're good? I think I hit the wrong button when I was making my adjustment, so we should be good. Right? I'm going to give you guys like a 5-second delay so you guys can catch up in the chat. Just either throw like a thumbs up emoji or thumbs down or just say, yeah, we're good. Please, I don't know. Figure out something. Communicate with me. So I'll let it sit for a few seconds. All right, now it's back. Troy and Ryan got me stressing. Oh, look, I have a history with technical difficulties when it comes to all things computers. Ironically enough, after doing this for a decade, technology just doesn't like me. I mean, I've had projects being lost after 15 hours of working on them. I've had rough drafts for scripts just randomly disappear. I've run the full gambit, audio obviously being part of that, and it is what it is. I've learned that you can never beat technology. So hopefully the audio is back. On my end, it looks like it's working. I mean, my levels are good. I'm in the green, or I'm in the yellow right now, so I can hear myself, I'm pretty sure. And in fact, let me just verify this. I can pull it up on my phone. So we might get a bit of an echo. Fantasy Vulture. The audio is back. On my end, it looks like it's working. Yeah, I'm straight. All right, cool. So with that, going back to what I was just saying, there are games this season where my famous quote, and when and if a merch store for Fantasy Vulture ever launches, like print the shirts that say "Start Everybody," right? Because for me, first off, I fucking love saying it, and we have a few games like that on this upcoming slate. But in a game like that, when it's Seattle and when it's Arizona, and it's two high-powered offenses with pretty meh to very bad defense, like you're starting Kyler, you're starting Drake, you're starting Chase Edmonds, you're starting Hopkins, you're going to start Christian Kirk, you're starting Russ, you're starting whoever the running back is going to be, you're starting Lockett, you're starting Metcalf. Like, what are we talking about here, right? I think sometimes people just tend to get a bit too in their head for fantasy sometimes, especially in matchups like that where, like, dude, like, just go with the obvious thing here. Like, you're not going to sit Tyler Lockett for, I don't, like, just literally anybody almost, right? Because the opportunities in that game are just so high. It doesn't make sense to try and put yourself in that kind of situation. And when I've been banging on the table for the past 10 weeks, hey, start everybody against the Seahawks because their defense is terrible, and inversely start all of your Seahawks because their defense is terrible and they have to put up points. Like, what are we talking about there? So that's just it was a game for me where I didn't feel like that I had to really give analysis because I felt like it was too self-explanatory. So if you needed the analysis and I wasn't there for you, I apologize, but that was my explanation for not covering anything for this Thursday. And then there's one more piece of information that I really want to take care of before we get into this week's games, and that is I'm really undergoing another content style shift. I've done a few of these already during year one, and full transparency, that was always the game plan. The game plan for this year was, hey, I'm going to mess around with 20 different styles, figure out what works, and then we'll be good to go for year two. Because the thought process was this year with COVID and just players being up and down, it gave me the flexibility to really just fuck around and make as many mistakes as I possibly could, while also just trying to figure out the style that I wanted to go with. So with that being said, I mean, I'm looking right now. You guys can't see it in full, but this is 26 different video ideas that I have planned out that I want to do in some capacity. So those are going to be coming to the channel very, very soon. We're going to scrap entirely individual game previews and recaps. The fact of the matter is, it's just too much. It's just too much. It's too repetitive, and I feel like there's not enough there. Like, it's one thing to do these giant streams, and the giant streams are really fun for me. Just being able to kind of sit down, interact with the chat, and also give all my takes going game by game. I really do enjoy this format. But when trying to go for essentially, when you're trying to do essentially what was my math? Like 32 videos in a 4-day span, you can probably imagine how exhausting and almost impossible that is, especially when you're trying to work 40 hours a week as well. Luckily, I'm fortunate enough to where I don't work Sunday and Monday, but Tuesday through Saturday, I'm 9 to 6, 9 to 7 every single day. So trying to be able to crank out all that content, it's pretty much infeasible at this current moment in time. I'm hoping eventually I can get to the point where I can do individual game previews and recaps, just because honestly I love it. Like, just in theory it makes so much sense, but just right now it's not feasible, and I'm really excited for some of the content that I do have planned. So be sure to stick around from now till the end of the season, because the stuff I got rolling out and the things that I want to do. Full disclosure, I'm trying to break the mold for the fantasy football industry. I personally feel like it's too cookie cutter. It's really standard. It's really structured, where you'll have an episode for game previews, an episode for game recaps, then waiver wires, and then waiver wire pickups, and then you just kind of do the whole thing over again. It's one of the reasons why I don't do a waiver wire show, because I try and get that information out during the game recaps itself. And I just feel like there's room for me here to where I can really make a pretty cool impact into the industry, and that's what I'm going to try and do from now until maybe all the way into year two. We'll see where it takes me. But like I said, there are some videos that I really want to get done. Just to give you guys kind of a peek behind the curtain here real quick. Some videos that I want to make are why you can't rely on Allen Robinson during your fantasy playoffs. The truth about Tyler Lockett. Here comes DeAndre Swift. What the fuck happened to Jonathan Taylor in the Colts? Henry Ruggs isn't the problem, the Raiders are. And just things like that. There are just a ton of videos that I want to make and just, I don't know, just have fucking fun with this, right? It's not to say that I wasn't before, because I love what I do. I love sitting down and chatting with you guys and answering your Twitter questions and things like that. But yo, I just think that there is a way here to really just take the ball and run with it. Like, I want to drop 50 points every single week I can in this space, and I think I have the possibility and the potential to do so. Not to mention the fact that I just feel like Fantasy Vulture, like that branding, like the name, lends itself to where I can make badass content. And that's kind of the direction and the motto that I'm really trying to lean into at this current moment in time. But enough rambling here. I see we got some questions popping up in the chat. We're gonna get fuck it. Let's get to those right now before we even start. I got some time. We got time. We're just gonna chill. I also don't know why. Every single time I go live, my nose starts itching like crazy. So if I touch my nose, I apologize. Remember, stay safe, wash your hands, things like that. All right, let's just keep rolling with the chat. First off, Ryan, thank you for saying keep grinding always. Steven Drake says, should I flex Duke in full PPR? Oh boy, the Texans are taking on the Patriots in this week, and the over/under is decently high, actually at 49. Why it's that high? Not sure. Like, that feels a bit too high, all things considered. The Patriots just notoriously taking away a team's number one option. The Patriots' offense really hasn't been that great this year. We'll see what Deshaun can do against this Patriots defense. I kind of like the under in that game. Flexing Duke in a full PPR makes sense depending on your options. I personally will always put a running back in my flex, no matter the format, because I like the guaranteed opportunity that I get from that position every single week. Duke Johnson actually had 100% of the Texans' rushing attempts last week, which is a really good sign. David Johnson still on IR. So I think Duke Johnson's a fine PPR flex, especially in full point formats where you should be able to get some pass catching work as well. Let's see. Ryan says, picked up Sony. How do you feel about his role? I'm not the biggest Sony Michel fan. I just don't think he does anything of great value on the football field. Like, he's just a player who I think is easily replaceable. And not to mention with the New England running backs, like, that's already a nightmare situation as is with James White, Rex Burkhead, who continues to be more and more involved. Damian Harris who is basically the guy in between the 20s, and then Cam Newton is the quarterback / running back who's getting all the goal line work, right? So for Sony, I think it's better in theory than in reality. Obviously, he's been a former first-round draft pick, and we have seen him have success, but just there's now at this point 5. Yeah, that's now 5 mouths to feed on the ground for the Patriots. And I don't really have any interest in Sony due to that. Let's see. Troy says, I have an early start sit question. Pick 2 for this week and next week. Peterson, Bernard, Ahmed, and Rager. I can't answer next week's because I don't have the schedules in front of me. I love Adrian Peterson this week. We're going to talk about him in just a moment. And Rager versus the Browns or Gio versus Washington. I'm actually going to side with Rager. I'm going to go Rager and Peterson, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. And then let's see, anything else? Should you start Zeke? Dallas is playing Minnesota. I think we're going to get a bounce back game from Zeke. I would not be shocked if this was a vintage Zeke Elliott game. We're gonna go through every one of these games in more detail in just a moment, but I would start Zeke this week. Zeke is too talented to bench, and that sucks given what's taken place over the course of the past 4 weeks. But the reality of the situation is Zeke is a guy who's going to get the ball 18 to 22 times a game. And because of that volume, you have to play that every single week. It's the exact same reason why we say continue to play Kenyon Drake. Because what you got on Thursday is what you can get from Zeke Elliott every single game. And that's 80 yards and a touchdown. And Zeke is notoriously known for being one of, if not the most consistent running back in fantasy football. It sucked for the past 4 weeks. I get it. It's not fun starting Zeke Elliott at this current moment in time, but you have to keep pulling him and keep putting him in your lineup because the talent is there and so is the opportunity. Should you grab Rex instead over let me I'm gonna do a deep dive here. We're gonna do a live deep dive. All right, let's pull up Rex. Rex Burkhead, over the course of the past 2 games, has seen 42 and 34% of snaps, 12 carries and 6 carries, 56 rushing yards and 31 rushing yards, has caught 3 passes for 11 yards and 4 passes for 35. He also had 2 touchdowns last week, a touchdown the week before. So he is being involved in the passing game. But let's pull up James White. No? Is that not going to work? James White has had a total of 7 targets during the course. The difference here, honestly, truthfully, is the fact that Rex Burkhead has gotten into the end zone 3 times in 2 weeks. Like, that is the big difference here. My personal philosophy is the only Patriots running back I'm ever going to comfortably start in any capacity is going to be Damien Harris, just because I believe in the talent and the opportunity that he has gotten. Obviously, that can change with the return of Sony Michel. Oh, no. I forgot I had to pull up this little device here. Give me a second. All right, we're up. We're good. Sorry, that just threw me off. The reason I would only play Damien Harris is just because I know the consistency that he's going to get. He's a guy who is going to consistently get 12 to 15 touches. He may get some goal line work, right? But the majority of his work is going to be in between the 20s. And I just know I can rely on him more than any other Patriots running back. I'm not really interested in Michel, White, or Burkhead, to be honest. I think you can do a lot better. And let's see. Would you sit Kupp for James Robinson in the flex? Kupp is playing Tampa. James Robinson is playing Pittsburgh. Oh, boy. I'm going to say yes. And we'll touch on this in just a moment. Since Jake Luton has become the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars over the course of the past 2 weeks, James Robinson has had 23 and 25 carries back-to-back games. Like, yes, the Steelers' run defense is great. And yes, the Steelers are going to dominate this game. But the reality of the situation is Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods have been seemingly disappointing over the course of the past 3 weeks or so. And with that volume and the opportunity for James Robinson every single week, you are not sitting him. You are never going to sit him. It does not matter what the matchup is because he's going to get the ball 20 plus times. And that's just, why would you ever go away from that? That is 20, think of it this way. This is the way that I always break it down, and really my reasoning for why I play running backs over wide receivers every chance I can get at the flex position. A wide receiver is going to get, we'll say 7 targets. That is 7 opportunities for a wide receiver to get into the end zone. A running back is going to get the ball 18 times, and that is 18 times for them to try and get into the end zone. Which one would you rather have, right? That is why volume and running backs to me matter so much more than any other position. I have labeled myself the running back whore, the running back king in all of my leagues because I own the running back monopoly, because I believe they are the position that wins you fantasy championships. You are never going to hear me say, for the most part, I can't guarantee this because obviously every situation is different. But in a vacuum, you will never hear me say I'm starting a wide receiver over a running back at my flex position. Thoughts on Jarvis Landry going forward? I want to see more of it. I want to see more from Landry over the course of the next few weeks, just because without Odell, we'll see if he can return to what he was last year, where he was so great. But even just watching Jarvis play this year, I want to say he leads the league in drops, and even still, he just doesn't look like the same player that he was a year ago, and I'm actually a bit concerned I don't know how confident I am starting Landry the rest of the way. That can obviously change. We still have, 8 weeks left, so things can turn around pretty quickly in that time window. The Browns are 6-3, and they've showed that, hey, they don't need a dominant wide receiver to be successful. And I actually think that I actually think that's the scary thing, right? They are the number one rushing offense in the NFL, and they don't have a need to continue it. They don't have a need to rely on a number one wide receiver, right? Baker's been a quarterback that plays his best game when he is spreading the ball around, when he is having when he is having dump offs to Kareem Hunt, when he's hitting Austin Hooper down the middle. If you want to rotate between Jarvis and Rashad Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones just on the outside, like, there is no formula for the Browns passing game besides, hey, let's just hand it off to our running backs, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, every chance we get, right? So I'm not too confident in Landry going forward as of now. That can obviously change, though. Should you start Wilson or Big Ben? Wilson already played, so unless... for some reason, some thought just went in my head, like, wait, is there another quarterback named Wilson in the NFL? The answer is no. So Wilson already played, my man. So Wilson actually didn't. Russ didn't play that great. He didn't have too great of a fantasy game, should I say. Got the win, obviously. But, all right, let's get into this. I'm ready to roll. So, game 1 on the docket. Let's jump into our game previews. We're starting off hot with the Tennessee Titans taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams are 6-3. The Ravens are 6-point favorites, and the over-under for this game is 49.5. There are no injuries to note for either team. We saw Mark Ingram back and healthy last week. We'll see how that impacts the Baltimore's running game the rest of the way. Hint, don't play any of your Baltimore Ravens running backs. But let's keep going, shall we? Your auto starts for this game. You're going to start Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Lamar Jackson, and Mark Andrews. Those are the only 4 players I can recommend with elite confidence to start. Ryan Tannehill in this matchup for me is not a must start. He struggled as of late. I believe the last 2 weeks he put up 14 points and 10 points. So it has been rough sledding as of late if you have started Ryan Tannehill. And the fact of the matter is, this Titans schedule has been brutal. It was Indianapolis, Chicago, Baltimore, and they get Indy next week. So this has been a rough stretch for the Titans offense for sure. So Tannehill for me at this moment is not a must start. Baltimore's defense is elite and they can shut down the quarterback. That said, we have seen them give up some big performances to a few other quarterbacks and wide receivers for that matter. So there's definitely a window here for Tannehill to get it done. I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in him. But if Ryan Tannehill's your guy, like for me, he is in one of my leagues, I'm going to roll him out there because I honestly feel like he is my best option. Jonnu Smith is also likely in your starting lineup just because of the landscape of the tight end position. You're going to keep rolling him out there. Obviously, he had the rushing touchdown last week, right? And after a few rough weeks, a handful of games before that, but it's fine. You're going to start Jonnu pretty much every single week because the touchdown opportunity is there because the Titans are good enough to move the ball. Hollywood Brown is either on your bench or on your waivers, dude. You can't start him. We've gotten to the point where Hollywood is absolutely droppable. It's a sad fall from grace. He was a player who I really liked coming into this season. He was a guy who I liked coming into his rookie year, right? And just things haven't materialized because the Baltimore Ravens offense is broken. We've been saying this for weeks. You're starting to hear the whispers come out that the opposing teams are calling out the Ravens' plays before they happened, and that it's just so predictable. Teams know what this Ravens offense is going to do, and they're able to sniff it out before it even takes place. You're also not going to start any of the Ravens running backs. If I had to pick one, honestly, the answer is Gus Edwards because I think he gets the most meaningful carries. He gets them at the goal line. He also just gets some in between the 20s, and he's actually the guy who throughout the course of this season has had kind of the most consistent role, right? We've seen Mark Ingram disappear. We've seen J.K. Dobbins disappear. but the one common thread between every single Ravens game is Gus Edwards has been a factor. So if I had to start one, it's probably Gus Edwards, but I'm trying to stay away from this backfield as much as possible. And truthfully, that's it for this game. Like, it's one of those things where you're going to keep playing Lamar, you're going to keep playing Mark Andrews, because what other choice do you have? You spent third round picks on both of those players, and damn it, you need to keep them in your lineup because we know what this Ravens offense is capable of. And to me, that is the hardest part about it all. Going back to the well every single week and just hoping that this is going to be the get right week for the Ravens. And I actually do think that there is a very real possibility that this is the case because of how bad / average the Titans defense has been over the course of the past several weeks or so. Let's move on to our next game, shall we? And that is going to be the Detroit Lions taking on the Carolina Panthers. The Lions are 4-5 and the Panthers are 3-7. The Panthers are actually favored in this game by 3. I'm pretty sure that's largely in part to no DeAndre Swift, no Kenny Golladay, and an injured and banged up Matt Stafford. More on that in just a little bit. And the over-under for this game is 46.5. So going back to those injuries, you got Kenny G is out, Danny Amendola is out, DeAndre Swift is also out for the Lions. It looks like that Matt Stafford's going to suit up and continue to try and play through that thumb injury for the Lions. And then for the Panthers, Christian McCaffrey also out, and Teddy Bridgewater is questionable with that knee injury. Teddy participated in practice yesterday, and it looks like that there is some optimism that he is going to play in this game, which is nice because he has a really great matchup in this contest. So I don't think there are any true auto starts for this game. Let's start there. We've seen Mike Davis kind of fall off the wagon a little bit. Robbie Anderson's fallen off the wagon. There's no Kenny G. Are you going to start Marvin Jones? What's T.J. Hawkinson's status going to be with that toe injury and a limited Matt Stafford, right? There are no true guys who you are just smashing that button and saying, I'm starting him in this game. So we're going to kind of break this down just a little bit. Mike Davis, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson are all likely going to be in your starting lineup for the Carolina Panthers. And the reason why is because this Detroit Lions defense has not been great all season. They have been exploited, whether it is on the ground or through the air. This Lions defense is absolutely beatable. So you're likely going to have those guys in your starting lineup. Curtis Samuel's the interesting case. We saw the shoe drop last week after 3 straight games with a touchdown in every single one of them. And last week you didn't get the touchdown and you didn't get the receiving work, so you got a bum game from Curtis Samuel. It was bound to happen, and luckily, if you sold high, it looked like you were rewarded during last week's game. With CMC out, like Curtis Samuel to me kind of becomes a guy where the opportunities for him should go up. They might use him on the ground just a little bit more, and you do always have the opportunity for him to take a jet sweep 20 or 30 yards, even into the end zone itself. I don't love starting Curtis Samuel this week just because I do feel like we are going to go back to inconsistent Curtis Samuel, which was a guy who was touchdown or bust, and that's really what we've seen for the past 4 weeks or so. I'm not confident in starting Curtis Samuel, but hey, if you have bye weeks, again, we actually didn't even mention this. The teams on bye are the 49ers, the Bills, the Bears, and the Giants. So if you do have a spot where maybe you need a spot start for an Allen Robinson or you need a spot start for a Stephon Diggs, I think Curtis Samuel should be okay in that sense. I don't think you can start Teddy, even though the matchup is great. To me, there's just a lot of other guys who I think I would rather start. And then even with Teddy and that knee injury, remember, it's a sprained knee. His knee is not healthy. He's going to play through it. But what is Teddy Bridgewater on one knee, like on one leg, right? That it's kind of the one reason why I'm low-key hesitant with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, but I just believe that the talent is there for them to get it done. But I'm not going to start Teddy just because I don't feel like starting a quarterback on one leg when I know it's week 11 and we need to get wins in order to secure our playoff spot for all of our fantasy leagues. I'm not going to roll the dice and take that risk there. With Stafford and that torn ligament in his thumb, but he's going to play through it, right? Like, this Carolina Panthers defense can also be beaten, But I'm not going to play Stafford if there is no Kenny G, if there is no DeAndre Swift, there is no Amendola. Like, the two options here, for the most part, are Marvin Jones and TJ Hockenson. And Hawk's great. Marvin Jones has seen a rise in production. But I'm not excited about starting Stafford with limited weapons and an injured hand. Doesn't seem like a good combination of things, all things considered. Marvin Jones is a fine start if you're wide receiver needy, kind of in that same boat as Curtis Samuel. Just depending on your bye week situation, he might be a guy you might look to. Not all excited about it. Again, trying to play, like, the issue with this game is both quarterbacks are hurt. Both quarterbacks are hurt, and I don't have an interest in really starting anybody who is receiving passes from a hurt quarterback. What world does that really make sense? And the talent of DJ Moore is much higher than it is Marvin Jones. If you want to go away from DJ Moore this week, I kind of get it, right? Same thing can be said for Robbie Anderson. The only thing I will say is that Hockenson should be in your lineup, and the reason why is just because of the tight end landscape. It's just so brutal. It's so abysmal. We have everybody's battling injuries or bye weeks or whatever the case is, or just the overall fact that the tight end position currently fucking sucks. It's not good. It has not been good all year. We thought it would be great. It's not. TJ Hockenson is tight end number 3 or 4 on the season. He always has the possibility to get into the end zone. He's a big red zone threat. And then also, he has the ability to just naturally catch 60 yards, right? Have a 60-yard game, and that's going to be fine enough for your fantasy team. So Hockenson should never leave your lineup pretty much for the rest of the season. And then my final note, I think, for this game is Adrian Peterson is a great spot start in this game, especially if you have Joe Mixon by chance. The reason why I like Adrian Peterson, first off, he's shown already the ability this year that he still has it in the tank. Secondly, you remove DeAndre Swift from the equation with that concussion injury. And then also, what have we said all year? Please, somebody in chat, tell me what we have said all year. And that is, you start your running back against the Carolina Panthers. This is a great matchup for Adrian Peterson. I'm perfectly cool starting him in this game because I do think he's going to be the leading back, get some goal line work, and he's probably going to fall his way into the end zone. Let's move on to our next game, and that is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Eagles are 3-5-1, and the Browns are 6-3. What a world we live in. The Browns are favored by 3, and the over-under for this game is 47.5. There are no injuries to note for either team, which is lovely. And with that being said, let's dive into our start sits for this game. Hang on. I'm trying to figure out where I want to put my notes at, because I feel like I'm looking down too much, but we're just going to go like this, I think. Maybe? There we go. So we have no injuries to note for either team. So let's go into the start sit. Your auto starts for this game for me are going to be Miles Sanders, Carson Wentz, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt. And the reason why is because you're never going to sit either of those Cleveland running backs just because of the volume that both of them are going to get and the production. We start good players in fantasy football. I know, as a hot take. I know. I'll back away. Because that take was so hot. But this is what we're doing, right? We need to win. Miles Sanders also doesn't leave your lineup. I'm not too concerned about the Jordan Howard signing. I know some people were kind of making a big deal out of that. I'll believe it when I see it, and Jordan Howard actually gets on the field. All right, give me a sec. We're bringing out the Mountain Dew. All right, sorry about that. I know. I talked about this last week. Whenever I have so much energy, I sit down to stream and I'm yawning like a bitch. I hate it. Drives me crazy. Anyway, and then you're gonna start Carson Wentz because I just love this matchup. I love this matchup. Last week we had a bad Carson Wentz game, which means we are due for a good Carson Wentz game. And with no Myles Garrett for the Browns, that's obviously going to relieve a lot of pressure from that Eagles offensive line and the Browns defensive line, and inversely, right? So what I'm going to advise is last week was a bad Carson Wentz game. Just watching it back and just going through some of the tape, I mean, shit, right? We all thought that Wentz was going to be a smash play, And I think this is going to be the week where he's going to smash. The defense for the Browns, like their secondary, is good. But with Wentz having a full cast, right? We talked about it last week. Alshon's back. Rager's back. Fulgham, Goddard, Sanders. Like, this Eagles offense is fucking loaded with talent for Carson Wentz to get it done. And I actually think that this is going to be a great matchup for him. The weather in Cleveland this week, all week, it's been really nice. It's been in the 50s. And so we aren't going to have the possibility of the disaster that was last week versus the Texans in Cleveland. So please, fire up Carson Wentz with confidence in your lineup this week. That being said, you're likely starting Travis Fulgham. You can start Jalen Reagor. Jarvis Landry is an option here, and so is Austin Hooper. Again, we just got done talking about the tight end landscape for fantasy football purposes. The only question that I really have here is, what are you going to do with Dallas Goedert, who has significantly underperformed? Zach Ertz is not all the way back, but it looks like he is on track to come back relatively soon. And we thought that Dallas Goedert would be this smash play when Ertz went out, and he just hasn't been. I'm going to play I'm going to play Dallas Goedert in this matchup. And the reason why is because all year long, the Browns have not been good against the tight end position. If you look at where they currently rank, let's pull this up. Where we go? Where do we go here? No. There we go. The Browns currently give up 8.4 fantasy points per game to the tight end position. That is in the upper half of the league. Obviously, it's not towards the top with the Bengals and the Falcons, who both give up 12 and 11 respectively. But there's always been room for them to get it done. We saw Mark Andrews have a great game early on this season. We saw Ziggy Uzama and Drew Sample have great games. Like, there's just been this history so far throughout the year where you can point to various matchups, and tight ends have succeeded against the Browns. So I'm fine starting Dallas Goedert in this matchup, especially if I believe that this is going to be a good Carson Wentz game, and you just kind of put 2 and 2 together. Anything else here for this game? I want to talk about Fulgham real quick, right? There was a lot of concern about Travis Fulgham last week. I saw the takes were flying. We saw target shares of 23, 24, 26, 26 go down to 13 last week. I think Fulgham had like 2 or 3 targets during last week's game. And that was with a fully healthy Jalen Reagor and a fully healthy Alshon Jeffrey. So what does that actually mean? To me, I'm chalking it up to 2 things. 1, a bad Carson Wentz game, and then number 2, just James Bradberry, quarterback for the Giants, who's been a lockdown guy all season long. It's that simple for me. It is that easy. I am not stressing about Travis Fulgham. In fact, Travis Fulgham was dropped in my league after last week's performance, and I quickly picked him up. As soon as I saw he was dropped, I put in another bid in order to get him, and now I have Travis Fulgham for the rest of the year. Do not panic on Travis Fulgham. Do not panic on any of your Eagles players, because I'm going to read you their playoff schedule for 2020. Let's see. The Eagles playoff schedule. All right, you have to bear with me here. You have to bear with me here. Actually, fuck their playoff schedule. I'm just going to tell you what their schedule is the rest of the year, because like this is why I targeted Fulgham as soon as I possibly could. The Eagles schedule the rest of the year: Cleveland, Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, Arizona, Dallas, Washington. The Eagles legitimately, of their next, 7 weeks, right? Of their next 7 weeks, at a minimum, 4 of them are in the green, with Cleveland, Seattle, Arizona, and Dallas. Those 4 are definitely in the green. New Orleans' defense is beatable. Green Bay's defense is super inconsistent. And Washington actually has a pretty good defense, but I think we all believe that they are beatable as well. So the options here for the Eagles down the stretch are going to be massive. Like, you are looking at just like, 'cause here's the other thing too, right? When you play Green Bay and New Orleans back-to-back weeks, like, the expectation is those teams are going to win. So if you're playing from behind, that's going to increase the floor of all of your Eagles players. So for the rest of the year, basically, it's kind of like start your Eagles, because the matchups are just too good for them one way or another, and that's going to lead to fantasy points, and hopefully it's going to lead to fantasy championships as well. Let's see. I think that's actually it for this game. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? Ooh, fun one. We're going to talk about the Patriots versus the Texans here. The Pats are 4-5 on the year. The Texans are 2-7. The Patriots are favored by 1.5, and the over/under for this game is 49. Damien Harris is questionable with that ankle injury, and there are no injuries for the Houston Texans. So let's just get into some starts, shall we? You're going to start Cam Newton. To me, you're going to start Damien Harris. I'm going to ride with Harris over Michel. I don't think that Michel is going to come in and get this full workload or anything like that. A few carries here and there, but nothing significant to warrant starting him or anything like that. And then you're also going to start Jakobi Meyers just because the target volume has been there at this point for, 3 straight weeks? It's been monstrous. I mean, it is legitimately like a 40% target share. I'm going to pull this back up. It's legitimately a 40% target share over the course of the past 4 weeks or so. You look at it, 10 targets, 14-7, and we know that Cam Newton just has this tendency to lock on to guys. We saw it with DJ Moore 2 years ago. We've seen Kelvin Benjamin in the past, right? There's just this history. If you just get Steve Smith, there's just this history of Newton locking on to one guy, hell, even CMC, right? Newton locks on to one guy, and you kind of have to roll with that. Also, who else is Cam Newton throwing to in this New England Patriots offense? So those are the 3 guys who I'm going to start for the Patriots. And then on the other side with the Texans, Watson, Cooks, and Duke Johnson. I did not say Will Fuller. And the reason why I did not say Will Fuller is, first off, if you look at Will Fuller's game log, let's pull this back up. If you look at Will Fuller's game log, last week versus Cleveland, bad weather game, did not get it done. But what do we know about the New England Patriots and their defense? The Patriots win games through their defense on one real principle and one true philosophy, and that is we are going to take away your number one option and we're going to let everybody else try and beat us. And more often than not, that's been a hell of a strategy because it works a lot. Will Fuller is the number one option for this Houston Texans offense, and if you look at what Will Fuller has done in his career versus the New England Patriots, it has not been great. Let's pull up the game splits here. I know, I should have more detailed notes, but I like doing this kind of stuff on the fly. Splits, career, versus team. There we go. So Will Fuller has played 2 games versus the New England Patriots in his career. Targets, 9. Receptions, 4. 39 yards. That's the stat line. And obviously DeAndre Hopkins is there as well, but even still, right, when Will Fuller was the number 2 option and they were trying to take away DeAndre Hopkins, he has been able to get it done. So now that he moves up to the number 1 option, Will Fuller is a tough matchup against this New England Patriots defense, where historically he has not had a good track record thus far. I'm interested in playing Brandon Cooks over Will Fuller this week. Maybe that's a bit of a hot take, but to me the logic kind of makes sense. You're going to try and play the ancillary pieces around this Houston Texans offense, and maybe you just have to sit Will Fuller this week. I'm still going to start Deshaun just because the talent's going to be there, and Deshaun just puts up fantasy points. It's kind of what he does. Brandon Cooks has been great, and then Duke Johnson just because of the volume and the opportunity that he's going to get for the second straight week without David Johnson on the field. And I think that's going to be it for this game. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, this is a fun one, actually. Let's talk about the Steelers and the Jaguars. The Steelers are undefeated. They're 9-0. The Jags are 1-8. The Steelers are favored by 10.5, and the over-under for this game is 46 points. For the Steelers, there are no injuries to note. For Jacksonville, Laviska Shenault, rookie wide receiver, is questionable with a hamstring injury. I expect him to play. But let's just go right into the start-sit question, shall we? Can we, I want to stand up for this, but I don't want to ruin the camera. So I guess we'll just sit down again. That's fine. Clear his throat. Start everybody for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I understand James Conner has been an up-and-down player this year. I understand that Deontay Johnson has been banged up. I understand Juju has had his ups and his downs. Chase Claypool has been inconsistent. I don't care. You are starting everybody on the Steelers in this game. This Jacksonville Jaguars defense is not great. It has not been great all season long. They have been carved up every single week. What are we talking about? James Conner's in your lineup. Juju Smith-Schuster's in your lineup. Deontay Johnson's in your lineup. Big Ben is in your lineup. Eric Ebron's in your lineup. Chase Claypool's in your lineup. Play everybody, please. Right? Like, this just makes sense. I was talking about before we started the previews. Hey, I didn't do a Cardinals and Seahawks. I didn't do a Cardinals and Seahawks preview because I felt like the advice was obvious. Congratulations, this is another game with obvious advice. Just start your fucking Steelers. And then inversely, the only Jags you can start is James Robinson. DJ Chark is super talented. I'm not gonna trust Jake Luton against this Steelers defense. I'm gonna start the guy who's getting 25 carries a game. Since Luton has taken over, that's James Robinson. That is the guy who has gotten it done every single week for you this season outside of, 2 games? Yeah, you're still going to play James Robinson. He's the only guy who I have confidence in starting out of everybody on the Jacksonville Jaguars side of the football. So I'm out on Chark this week, out on Luton, no Shenault, don't care. Keelan Cole, no thanks. It's James Robinson, and it's nobody else. Our next game is going to be the Atlanta Falcons taking on the New Orleans Saints and Taysom Hill. All right, we'll get into the reason why I'm so excited in just a moment. But overview for this game: the Falcons are 3-6, the Saints are 7-2. The Saints are favored by 3.5, and the over/under for this game is 49. This fact that the Saints are favored without Drew Brees, who was placed on IR, starting Taysom Hill, is so fucking funny to me. And that's kind of the injury report, right? The Falcons are not injured at all. The only player missing for the Saints is Drew Brees, and Taysom Hill is starting in place of it. For the Atlanta Falcons, before we touch on the Saints here, the Atlanta Falcons, again, clear his throat. Start everybody. That's what we need. Yo, that's what we need. I need to get a graphic or a button. I press the button and just SpongeBob start everybody comes up. Actually, we're going to make that right now. We're going to make this right now. Hang on. SpongeBob Rainbow. Can I... it's this one. Don't worry, we're on it. SpongeBob. Open. Downloads. You guys are seeing live editing right now. I want to go like this. We're going to go white text. What is happening? There we go. All right. Can I know this is great content, right? Give me a sec. There we go. Export. Okay. Image. SpongeBob. All right, we got it. We got it. This is incredible. So where were we? Let me get back in the zone here for a second. We were just talking about the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints, a game that's taking place on Sunday in New Orleans. The Falcons are 3-6 and the Saints are 7-2. The over/under for this game is 49, and the Saints are favored by 3.5, starting Taysom Hill. Drew Brees is out with a variety of different injuries. He's going to miss several weeks. There are no injuries to note for the Atlanta Falcons. And so this brings me to the following point. It's what we've said all season long for the Atlanta Falcons, and that is start everybody. For the love of God, just do it. You are starting Matt Ryan. You are starting Calvin Ridley, who has no injury designation for this game. Julio Jones has been great since he has been back. Todd Gurley is a touchdown machine, and Hayden Hurst has come on pretty strong over the course of the past several weeks. You are starting everybody for the Atlanta Falcons. And on the other side of the ball, specifically for ESPN leagues, you need to start Taysom Hill at your tight end position. I am doing it. I am so fucking excited. We are gaming the system in a way that I didn't think would ever be possible. I am starting 2 quarterbacks in a league that is not a super flex. I am thrilled. I can't wait for my league to throw a fit once they realize what I'm doing. I don't know if they've actually caught on yet, but I'm stoked about it. I am stoked. At the beginning of the week, I put in a $1 bid for Taysom Hill. Just on the off chance that if he were to start, I would get quarterback eligibility at my tight end position, and damn it paid off, and thank God it did, because your boy has lost the past 2 weeks for the first time in 2 years in that league, and I need a win. I'm 6-4, but my division is fucking loaded, and I need to be able to secure victory. I'm going up against the team in my division that is 5-5. So if I lose this week, I'm looking to be a fringe playoff team at that point, and I was just the number 1 seed last week. So we are buying wins with Taysom Hill. I'm going to start Alvin Kamara still, and I'm still going to start Michael Thomas just because I believe in the talent more than anything. I mean, having a safety blanket like that when you are Taysom Hill is great. I'm a little bit more hesitant to start Jared Cook just because I think the range of outcomes is going to be wide and vast there. So maybe you can look to see if there's a better option on your waiver wire, but honestly, there probably isn't, so you may have to play Jared Cook regardless of Taysom Hill being at quarterback. But I'm so excited for this game. Just looking at my lineup and seeing Taysom Hill at my tight end position, projected 18 points, buying wins. That is what we did this week. Let's keep going. Our next game is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Washington football team. The Bengals are 2-6-1, and Washington is 2-7. Washington is favored by 1.5, and the over/under for this game is 47. Joe Mixon is out with that foot injury, and not only is he missing this week, news broke out today that he's been placed on IR and is going to miss the next 3 games. And that is just brutal for the way that Joe Mixon has been this season. Getting off to that slow start, having that big performance early on in the year, then kind of coming back down to earth, and then he's been injured. And listen, as somebody who traded Joe Mixon and Chris Carson 2 weeks ago, gotta be honest, kind of feeling myself right now. I feel good. I've talked about this 1,000 times already. This is Dynasty League. I traded Joe Mixon for DeAndre Swift and DJ Dallas, and I traded Chris Carson for David Johnson and a first-round pick. David Johnson obviously not playing, but I'm more so tanking right now. I'll probably make a whole video on that in a bit. But I feel pretty good right now, not knowing that it wouldn't have mattered if I kept those players for the most part. Obviously, it's Dynasty, so there are long-term effects here. But just right now, knowing where my team is at, understanding that I kind of got off I got off the ride when I was supposed to. I feel pretty good about that, all things considered. So for Washington, you're going to start Terry McLaurin, you're going to start Antonio Gibson, and you're going to start J.D. McKissic as well. I have finally come around to McKissic. Just the volume is there with Alex Smith. And it is one of those things where if we are hyping up Antonio Gibson in the way that we have been, we inversely have to hype up J.D. McKissic because he is also involved in this backfield, and if not, maybe even more involved than Antonio Gibson to much of our chagrin. Terry McLaurin is fucking great. He's incredible. He's got next. You're looking at a guy who's going to be a top 5 wide receiver in this league. He is so damn good. He is always going to be in your starting lineup especially against this booty cheeks defense that is the Cincinnati Bengals. But of the Bengals, Gio Bernard, you're going to start him, especially with no Joe Mixon, right? Bernard is pretty much a guy who's going to be consistent running back too the rest of the way as long as there is no Joe Mixon. So Bernard is a fine start every week. Joe Burrow, I kind of like in this matchup. Yes, this Washington defense is good, but what we've seen from what we've seen from Joe Burrow, I mean, yes, there have been some games where it looks like that he really has struggled, but man, for the most part, Burrow just looks so good. Like he just gets it done, and he is a guy that has next for sure in the hierarchy of quarterbacks. Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, both in your lineup. I'm now off the AJ Green bandwagon again. We saw an uptick in volume from him over the course of the past few weeks, and then it just came crashing down, and you just can't rely on AJ Green anymore. You just simply can't do it. But I am now in a position with T. Higgins that I can confidently say T. Higgins is a must-start every single week. He is consistently seeing 8 targets a game. He is consistently seeing throws downfield, big play opportunity, red zone work. He's getting the gambit. Like, yo, as much as we love Tyler Boyd around here, and we fucking love Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins legitimately might be the number 1 option for this Cincinnati Bengals team, and that's only going to continue to improve and get wider and bigger and expand. Like his role is going to continue to grow as we go forward throughout the course of the next 7 weeks of the season. For me personally, I'm now playing T. Higgins over Allen Robinson every single week. More on that in just a little bit, but I just can't do it with Allen Robinson anymore. And it's not an Allen Robinson problem, it's a Nick Foles problem. But T. Higgins is fucking great, and he needs to be in your lineup every single week. Going forward, let's go over to the next game, shall we? Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins taking on the Denver Broncos. The Dolphins are 6-3. The Broncos are 3-6. The Dolphins are favored by 3.5, and the over/under for this game is 45.5 points. Injuries: Matt Breida is questionable with that calf injury. Noah Fant and Drew Lock are both questionable. It looks like that Drew Lock is somehow going to start after what is being described as a gruesome rib injury. Like, apparently there's really bad bruising and swelling, and man just takes a lot of shots. He takes a lot of hits. So, sit for this game. If Matt Breida is out, you start Ahmed. You just do it. He's been getting the work, and we're going to roll with guys who get the work. Again, volume matters in fantasy. It's the reason why so many running backs can just come in off the street. We saw Alex Collins do this 2 weeks ago. Last week. We saw DJ Dallas do this 2 weeks ago. We've seen Gio Bernard do it. Running backs just come in, they get 15 carries a game, and they produce. Because why? They touch the ball 15 times. And again, when you touch the ball 15 times, 18 times, 22 times, you are going to be productive because just the volume lends itself to that. It's a simple math equation, right? If Johnny has 20 apples and Susie has 7, who has more apples? The answer is fucking Johnny, right? So if Breida's out, start Ahmed just because he has been able to get it done with his plethora of opportunities. And honestly, I'm not interested in starting anybody else. Why? Because fuck the Denver Broncos. What are we doing here? Jerry Jeudy has not been good. And by that, I mean he hasn't been able to get the ball and be productive. Like, Jerry Jeudy is a very talented NFL player, and he should be, and he should track to be that. But he hasn't gotten it done in 2020. It's just the reality it is the reality of the situation. He has had 1.5 good games. Tim Patrick, yeah, congratulations. You had 3 good games early on in the season. You have not done anything since. Drew Lock, 1.5 good games. I'm not interested in starting you. Melvin Gordon, your value is tanked with Phillip Lindsay coming back. And guess what, Phillip Lindsay? You can't get it going because your team continues to give Melvin Gordon the ball over you. Noah Fant, you've been injured and hobbled all season long. No thanks. No, I'm off. I'm off the Denver Broncos for the rest of the year. I tweeted this yesterday. No, it wasn't yesterday. It was a few days ago. I'm pretty much willing to drop everybody on the Broncos. I have no interest in starting Melvin Gordon. I have no interest in starting Phillip Lindsay. I have no interest in starting Jerry Jeudy. I have no interest in starting Tim Patrick. Noah Fant, maybe because of the tight end landscape. And obviously I'm not gonna touch Drew Lock with a 10-foot pole. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Please remember, the point of fantasy football is to win your matchup. Starting the Denver Broncos will not allow you to do such a thing. So, no thanks. I'm off the Broncos. I guess maybe going back to the Dolphins, you start Devontae Parker. Maybe, right? Like, how confident are you in starting Devontae Parker? I think that's actually a really legitimate question here that you have to ask yourself. Since Tua has taken over as the starting quarterback, Parker has seen 7 targets in both games, so there is volume there. However, the yardage and the reception totals have not been there. He's still playing 90% of snaps, so maybe things get better. And the fact that this Denver Broncos defense has not been great, and the fact that the Dolphins' upcoming schedule is Denver, the Jets, and the Browns, there is room here for Devontae Parker to do some damage, like legitimately, like it is possible. It's just a matter of what is your situation and how confident are you in starting Devontae Parker. The reason why I would start Devontae Parker, and just to give you some context here, the situation that I would be willing to start him in is as follows. I know that I can start him in my matchup and it won't hurt me because maybe my opponent has Stephon Diggs on a bye, or maybe he has Allen Robinson on a bye, and there's just room for me here to where I can start Devontae Parker, and I know it's not going to hurt me because my opponent is down a player or two who is traditionally in his starting lineup, and that can give me some wiggle room to put in Devontae Parker if I have to. But that is all I got for this game. Let's go on to the next, shall we? And that next game is going to be the Jets taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Jets 0-9, the Chargers 2-7. The Chargers are favored by 9.5 points, and the over/under for this game is 46 points. Sam Darnold is out. He's actually questionable, but he's not going to play. Flacco's going to play with that shoulder injury, and the Chargers have no injuries of notes. So let's go into the auto start, shall we? Dun dun. Dun dun. Dun dun. Start everybody, please. And specifically start everybody for the Chargers. Herbert is up. Kalen Ballage is up. Williams, Henry, Allen, play them all, please. Kalen Ballage has been great since taking over that backfield. Keenan Allen, great. Hunter Henry, great. Big playability for Mike Williams. I bet you he gets into the end zone during this game because it's the fucking Jets. And Herbert is obviously never going to leave your lineup, and he's just not going to do it this season, right? So please start all of your Chargers against the Jets. No real analysis there. Like, that's just self-explanatory at this point, right? For the Jets, though, LaMichael Pirine, report came out last week that Pirine is going to be the featured back coming out of the bye week. Brashad Perriman was productive. Jamison Crowder was productive. Denzel Mims was also productive last week with Joe Flacco. All 4 of these players are startable. It all depends about what your other options are. You need to be able to break it down. A great tip that I like to use is I'll take a piece of paper, I'll use my notepad on my phone, I'll use a Google Doc, whatever the case is. I like to kind of create a fantasy football depth chart. Who's my number 1 wide receiver? Who's my number 2 wide receiver? 3, 4, 5, 6, and just in a vacuum, put them in a list. Running back, same thing. And if you are in that position where you need to start somebody off the Jets, honestly, this Chargers defense is beatable, and these 4 players have had a history already this season of being productive in some fashion. We've seen Perryman get in the end zone. Jameson Crowder is obviously a target beast. Denzel Mims, since coming off of the injury list, has been incredible for fantasy, not for fantasy, but in a guy who is this bubbling, emerging talent. 7 targets, 6 targets, 42, 47, and I believe last week was 67 yards, right? There's just this bubbling opportunity for Denzel Mims. And obviously, starting running back in the NFL, in Lamichael Pirine, and some of his workload increasing, always can lead itself to fantasy points. So those 4 players are startable. I know it's the Jets, so it doesn't feel great, and it all depends on what your other options are. I think you can actually do a lot worse than those players who should all be involved in this week's game plan versus the Chargers. Let's keep going. I do see the chat popping up, so let's take a quick break here. First off, Mountain Dew. All right, so we got some questions in the chat here. Let's see. Anton says Gio or James Conner for my RB2. The answer is James Conner. The answer is James Conner. You're never, in a game versus the Jags, you're never going to play somebody, or you're never going to bench somebody who is playing the Jags, rather. Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do. Matt says pick one, full PPR. Fulgham, Cooper, Kupp, AB, or Ahmed. Kupp. I think I play Fulgham. I'm just going to buy into the production, and I'm going to buy into a good Carson Wentz game. I don't trust Amari Cooper. And, Cooper's playing Minnesota. Do I trust Amari Cooper with Andy Dalton? Maybe, right? Like, it theoretically makes sense. Shit, I'm playing Fulgham. I'm just... What I've seen from Travis Fulgham this year is just super fucking impressive. It really is. And yes, again, last week was the dud, and it's going to leave some bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because the Eagles' offense was finally healthy. And oh no, Travis Fulgham only had a 13% target share as opposed to 26, right? So what does it mean for Fulgham going forward? I'm just a believer in Fulgham, the player. Wentz is just going to target him a ton. And I like Fulgham this week versus the Browns more than any of those options. Kupp has a decent matchup against Tampa Bay just because you expect that game to be a high scoring. AB is in the same situation, but that Rams defense has been shut down. Ahmed versus the Broncos is meh. And then Cooper with Andy Dalton, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Andy Dalton. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. You picked up Dez. Can I give you some honest advice? Can you drop Dez right now? Fabian? Respectfully, drop Dez, please. This Ravens offense is broken. There's not enough passing work to go around to Hollywood Brown, to Mark Andrews, to Dez Bryant, to the running backs. Like, it's just the Ravens offense is just bad. It's not good. It's terrible. As somebody who owns Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, it has not been fun for the most part. Dez Bryant's not going to give you any sort of fantasy value, meaningful fantasy value for this season. It's just kind of a hot name. Like that is the reality of the situation. All right, we're almost done here. We got a few more games to continue to get through, so let's go through those. And let's go to a fun one. Between the Green Bay Packers and the Indianapolis Colts. The Packers are 7-2, and the Colts are 6-3. The Colts are favored in this game by 1.5, which is kind of wild. Don't know how I feel about that. The over-under for this game is 51 points. Allen Lazard is questionable, coming off of that groin injury. And Jack Doyle looks like he will play after coming off of the concussion. Start sit for this game. Come on. For the Packers, where's my mic at? There we go. For the Packers, Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Robert Tonyan. Do it. Do it. Do it. I don't like. Again, for who? For what? Why would you ever go away from these players? That is shooting yourself in the foot during week 11 of the fantasy football season when you need a win. Do not get cute. Don't do it. You're playing those guys. Start your studs. And then for the Colts, Michael Pittman, you can play. Looks like the breakout is coming for him. Had a great game last week versus the Titans, and I expect that to continue I expect that production to continue towards the right path. And the big question that I have, Jordan Wilkins, Nyheim Hines, Jonathan Taylor. All are theoretically playable because of how bad this Green Bay run defense is. But you are spinning the wheel. If I had to rank those guys in order, that's actually the way that it would be. Jordan Wilkins 1, Nyheim Hines 2, Jonathan Taylor 3. Let's go through the thought process of that. Number 1, Jordan Wilkins has been the guy in the backfield over the course of the past 3 weeks. Number 2, if Green Bay gets ahead and they need to start throwing to play catch up, Nyheim Hines is going to be on the field, and that leads number 3, Jonathan Taylor, just being a guy who may start the game, get a handful of carries, maybe some goal line work, but you never know what Jonathan Taylor's full game log is going to look like, essentially, right? How many carries is he going to get? How involved? Is he just randomly not going to see the field for several minutes at a time? You just can't run that kind of risk in Week 11 of the fantasy football season when you need a win. Again, playing fantasy at this current moment in time is a lot about strategy. I think of it in terms of chess. Why would you put yourself in a position where when you're playing behind the 8 ball? Doesn't seem like a good idea when we're trying to win, right? When we're trying to make the postseason, when we're trying to win championships. Starting Jonathan Taylor at this point does not seem like a fun idea, in all honesty. So I'm going to try and stay away from him as much as I possibly can. I understand that some teams you have to start Jonathan Taylor, and with that, hope and pray. Hope and pray, and luckily you have a good matchup here against Green Bay to where he could be productive. But that's all I really have to say about this game. Up next, the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings. The Cowboys are 2-7 and the Vikings are 4-5. The Vikings are favored by 7 points, and the over for this game is 48. There are no injuries to note, which is nice. Andy Dalton is back, coming off COVID and that concussion, so he'll be back and ready to roll. Starts it for this game. I'm starting Zeke. Again, we started off the show talking about him. You just have to. With getting 18 opportunities a game, the potential of this offense to explode on any given night with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Dalton Schultz, and Zeke. There's always potential for Zeke to get into the end zone based off of that alone. And just simply put, talent, right? Play good players. I know, again, hot take, but it's what we're going to do, right? We are playing good players. For the Vikings, need I say more? Do I need to say more here? Start everybody. This is a great Kirk Cousins game. This is a great Dalvin Cook game. This is a great Justin Jefferson game. This is a great Adam Thielen game. Hell, maybe even Irv Smith gets into the end zone, right? This offense can roll. And I'm actually really excited for the possibility here of this team. Let's pull this up. The Vikings schedule the rest of the season. We can say the rest of the season. I'll limit it at first to the next 3 weeks, right? So this is the Vikings schedule going into the fantasy playoffs. So to round out the regular season, Dallas, Carolina, Jacksonville. Just for the next 3 weeks. For the next 3 weeks, please, for the love of God, start to all of your Vikings. Just do it. Just do it. I promise you it's going to work out well in the end. I'm really excited for what these guys can do, and I'm really terrified and really thankful that I don't have to face Dalvin Cook during any of those matchups because he may just run over your fantasy team if you were to get in the way of that. So What more needs to be said here? I'm not entirely sure. We've talked about all season long how awful the Cowboys' defense has been. And with that, you're going to take advantage of that by starting all of your Minnesota Vikings. All right, let's move on. We got 2 more games here. And these are just fun. This is just fun at this point. I love this slate of games. Because, again, we got Kansas City and Las Vegas. Guess what? Start your fucking Chiefs. Please, just do it. Mahomes is up. Kelsey. Tyreek, if you want to spin the wheel with Mecole Hardman, who's off the COVID list, or Demarcus Robinson, by all means, go ahead. Clyde Edwards-Helaire in your lineup. Start all your running backs against the Raiders. If you want to take a flyer on Le'Veon Bell, though I do not recommend it. Let's not get this twisted. This is more a bit hyperbolic. Le'Veon Bell hasn't given you a reason to start him. But just understand that the matchup is good versus the Raiders. I believe they're number 2 in points per game given up to the running back position. Let's verify this. Let's vet this out. They are number 5. They give up 21 points per game to the running back position, which is just a filthy amount. So please, start Clyde. You can start him with confidence this week. You can obviously start Mahomes, Reek, Kelsey. You know the drill with your Kansas City Chiefs. On the other side with the Raiders, again, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, that's it. Henry Ruggs is droppable. Nelson Agholor is touchdown dependent. No thank you. Derek Carr, meh. You're going to start Josh Jacobs and you're going to start Darren Waller. Jacobs gets the work, Waller gets the targets, and the offense runs through those 2 players. Everybody else is just an ancillary side piece, and you have no reason to start them. But with Waller and Jacobs, you are always going to start them. They are always going to be in your lineup. If you need a flyer, Ruggs, fine, I guess, right? Agholor, okay. The only reason why I would play those is the understanding that the Chiefs may roll the Raiders. And this actually, to me, is the biggest game of the Raiders season. The Raiders being 6-3, and the Chiefs being, where'd my notes go? The Raiders being 6-3. There we go. And the Chiefs being 8-1. Like, this is going to be the biggest test for the Raiders. This is where they're really going to test and figure out where they're at in terms of the closeness in this division. Obviously, this is an AFC West battle, and we're going to get to see how close the Raiders are to catching the Chiefs. This is going to be a real testament game, I think, for them. Probably the biggest game of their season. And if the expectation is, hey, this game might turn into a shootout, maybe you do flex Ruggs. Maybe you do flex Agholor. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of doing it, simply because you're looking at 2 players who get 4 targets a game, and you're hoping one of them is a touchdown. As simple as that. And then finally, our last game is going to be the Monday night game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guess what? Start everybody. Like, what are we doing here? It is an offense that rolls in Tampa, like Ronald Jones, AB, Godwin, Evans, Gronk, Brady, maybe Fournette, right? Even Fournette in this game, where if this gets into a little bit of a battle, you may see a lot more pass catching work for Fournette. Like, who are you sitting here for the Buccaneers? Please, let me know. Let me know. I understand the Rams defense has been great. As somebody who owns them, they've done wonders for my fantasy team this year. But this Bucs offense can just cook. It can just cook and steamroll. And we have seen the Rams defense just have these games, these mental lapses where they just get carved to shreds. And this feels like one of those games. And then with the Rams, if you're playing catch up, Jared Goff could be a great option for you. If the expectation is this game is going to be a shootout, Goff, Woods, Kupp, Henderson, right? These are just guys who I'm willing to start. If I had to rank my Rams running backs, it's going to be Henderson, Brown, and Akers. I still don't buy into Cam Akers all the way this year. Henderson has been the guy for the majority of the season, so I'm going to go to that. If I'm hoping for a goal line touch and a vulture, Malcolm Brown is a fine start in that regard. And then you're still going to play Robert Woods just because the safety net is there. Josh Reynolds is a guy who's come on really strong over the course of the past few weeks. If you need a spot start at the flex position, you can play him. Fine with that. Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp is most likely going to be in your starting lineup anyways, right? I don't know where he ranks on the year. Let's actually look at this. I'm very curious. On the year, where is Cooper Kupp? Oh, do I really have to scroll? That can't be right. Hang on. Season. Cooper Kupp is currently. Wait, that's projection. Oh. There we go. Leaders. Sorry, I'm fidgeting. I don't know what's going on. There we go. Cooper Kupp is currently wide receiver 29 on the year. Guess what? I don't care because the targets are still there. We saw 20 targets 2 weeks ago. We've seen him flutter in that 7 target range. Like, there's just room for you to keep playing Cooper Kupp. This offense is still going to be one that puts points up on the board. And there's no real reason yet to go away from him just because the reality is he just hasn't gotten into the end zone. And we know Cooper Kupp has historically been a more touchdown-dependent player, as quiet of a secret as that has been kept. But I think that's it for all of the games. Let's go to the chat one more time. We got Blue Crew, half-point PPR, Thielen and T. Higgins at wide receiver, Kamara and Zeke at running back, Claypool at flex, sitting Godwin, Kupp, and McKissick. Thielen and Higgins. Like, yes, you're playing. Yeah. Yeah. There's no. Yeah. I'm in for that. Like I said, T. Higgins doesn't leave your lineup at this point. Thielen, you're obviously starting versus Dallas. Kamara and Zeke don't leave your lineup. Claypool versus the Jags makes sense. Godwin, tough matchup. I don't think Godwin's gonna be shadowed by Jalen Ramsey, but we may see some coverage there, and just the way that this Rams defense has been playing. Sitting Godwin, fine with it, especially with the addition of Antonio Brown eating into Godwin's work. There's always that potential as well for the downfall. Kupp, I get it. I would sit Kupp over Thielen and T. Higgins as well. And McKissick in a half-point format, meh. Versus the Bengals defense, like that's kind of a question that you have to ask yourself: does McKissick get into the end zone? And even still, even with all the work that McKissick has gotten, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you to play him because he simply hasn't really done it despite the opportunity. I would much rather play Claypool at my flex position as well. Brady or Tua? Brady. I just trust the weapons. I trust the weapons for Tampa more than I do Tua's weapons in Miami. I mean, when you are throwing to a cast of guys that include Gronk, Godwin, Evans, and Brown, even Fournette out of the backfield, you're never going to sit Brady. Like, Brady should never leave your lineup the rest of the year, in all honesty. I don't care what matchup it is. He just should always be locked in as your guy. Gibson or Robinson? Gibson. Yeah, Gibson. The Bengals defense is hot garbage. Gibson's been getting more and more involved. We'd like to see the passing game for him really come around. It hasn't because McKissick is still there. But I like Antonio Gibson more than James Robinson this week just because Robinson's going up against that tough Steelers defense and McKissick going up against that soft Bengals defense. It's a pretty easy start for me. Brady, so think of it this way. Think of it this way. What we saw from Tom Brady in that Sunday night game versus the Saints was historically his worst game of his career. I'm not going to bet that Tom Brady has almost back because we had that middle gap between with that Panthers game. I'm not going to bet that Tom Brady has 2 historically bad games in 2 out of 3 games. No thanks. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. That does not make sense to me. This cast of weapons is too good. It is too good for him to fail multiple times. Start good players. This is not rocket science. I think it's really like, to me, it's the thing that I think frustrates me the most about fantasy football is just when people get into their own head about like their lineup. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, in a game like this, when you have 4 god tier options to throw the ball to, how are you ever going to have a bad game? And yes, he had the bad game versus the Saints, but again, historically bad game during a 20-year span of Tom Brady's career. Who is Tua throwing the ball to? If you can name me, like, that's the thing, right? If you can name me 2 players on the Dolphins who are better than 2 players on the Bucs in terms of offensive weapons, I'll hear you out starting Tua. So please go ahead and try and tell me that Devontae Parker is better than Chris Godwin and or Mike Evans and or Antonio Brown and or Rob Gronkowski. Try and tell me that Mike Gesicki is better than Rob Gronkowski throughout what we've seen so far this season. Preston Williams is hurt. Even still, like, I'm not arguing Preston Williams over Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I just don't believe. I just don't believe sitting good players doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Why? The Rams defense has been great all season long. In fact, they are the number 1 defense against quarterbacks. They are. Actually, they're number 2. They are number 2. The Rams give up 14 points per game to quarterbacks. So here's what we're going to do. This is going to be a fun exercise, shall we? I'm going to pull up the Rams schedule right now. So the Rams give up 14 points per game to the quarterback position. Here are the quarterbacks who they have faced. They have faced Dak Prescott in week 1. Guess what? Dak Prescott carved them up. They then played Carson Wentz. That was when Wentz was bad during weeks 1 and 2. They played Josh Allen in week 3. Guess what? Josh Allen carved them up. They then played the Giants and Daniel Jones. They played Kyle Allen and the Washington football team. They then played Jimmy Garoppolo and Nick Mullins. They then played Nick Foles. They then played Tua, and then they played Seattle. So, in theory and in totality, they have faced 3 legitimately good quarterbacks in Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and Russell Wilson. That's it. Those are the 3 great quarterbacks they have faced. 2 of them have carved them up. And what Russ did against them last week was admittedly a bit of a letdown, all things considered. But guess what? It happens. It happens. Russ has also been on a bit of a decline. It doesn't make, like, I just believe in Tom Brady on this offense too much. It's a hill I'm willing to die on. And I just don't know why you would play Tua. I just don't. Tua in his 3rd game with a lack of weapons against a meh Broncos defense that can be good, right? Like, I just take the experience. I take the experience and I take the talent on the Buccaneers offense more than I do the Miami Dolphins. Like, that's the reality of the situation. The Dolphins are winning games not because of their offense, but because of their defense. And I feel like that's kind of the game script that we're going to get this week versus the Broncos in all reality. TSS, Sit 1 PPR, Godwin, Ridley, Deontay, Brandon Cooks. I'm sitting Brandon Cooks. I'm going to roll with Chris Godwin, as I just got done saying. I believe in Tom Brady this week, and just this Buccaneers offense in all reality. Calvin Ridley. If Calvin Ridley is active Calvin Ridley should never leave your starting lineup. It should not happen unless he is not playing or is on a bye week. Only time you are ever sitting Calvin Ridley. Deontay Johnson, you're playing him versus Jacksonville. Start all of your Steelers, and that leaves Brandon Cooks as the odd man out. Just kind of has a tough matchup against the New England Patriots. Would you start Cam over Brady? No. The only I'm trying to think of ways that I need to I'm trying to think of ways that I need to actually articulate this in order for me to get my full point across. Brady versus Matty Ice is that is a legitimately good question. There we go. Thank you. TS, you just helped me so much try and get this point across. When I am looking for quarterbacks to start in fantasy, the first question I ask myself more than anything is not matchup. It is, who are my offensive weapons? Guess what? When you're Russell Wilson and your offensive weapons are Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and also Chris Carson out of the backfield, Russell Wilson and just natural talent. Russell Wilson doesn't leave your lineup. When you look at Tom Brady and that cast in Tampa, doesn't leave your starting lineup. You look at Matty Ice in Atlanta, Julio, Hurst, Ridley, Gurley, Matt Ryan probably should never leave your lineup. Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek, Hardman, CEH doesn't leave your starting lineup. Unless you are, if you are on an offensive just juggernaut of a team that legitimately can drop 35 points on any given goddamn week, that quarterback does not leave your starting lineup. What are we talking about here? If I told you that, hey, on any given drive, you have a 50% chance of scoring a touchdown compared to a team that has a 30% chance, like a Teddy Bridgewater, a Derek Carr, a New England Patriots, right? A Cam Newton. I said New England Patriots. A Cam Newton. Wouldn't you rather take that 50% chance than the 30, right? What are we talking about here? It is week 11 of fantasy football. We need wins. Why are we going to play Cam Newton over Tom Brady? What are we doing? Please. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. And it want to know what sucks? Do you want to know what sucks? Is if Brady has a bad game, I'm going to hear it. But you look at what Brady has done this season, and it is nothing short of spectacular. It is. I'm going to read you the game logs. Tom Brady is quarterback 6 on the season, okay? 21, 25, 36, 15, 16, 40, 21, the dud game versus New Orleans, the 4-point game, and 35 versus Carolina. Tom Brady is never really going to hurt you in terms of fantasy. Outside of that dud week versus fucking New Orleans, but whatever. I started Cam Newton and he had 0.8 fantasy points. Every quarterback is capable of a bust game. I get it. Herbert or Tom Brady, thank you. Killian CK, another great question, right? Not like now, finally, I feel like we're starting to get to the place. Look, matchups play a part in quarterbacks like Derek Carr, in Kirk Cousins, in Drew Lock, in Tua. They play a part there when they are fringe players who can go off in the right matchup. Tom Brady can go off in any matchup. Lamar Jackson can go off in any matchup. Pat Mahomes can go off in any matchup. Justin Herbert can go off in any matchup. These are guys who are game script proof. It does not matter what the matchup is. Herbert or Tom Brady, Herbert. In this example, it's Herbert. And the reason why it's Herbert is because you're playing the fucking Jets. One matchup there. But additionally, you have the weapons. It's Herbert in that situation. It is Herbert in that situation. Matchup plays a part if you're splitting hairs, but if you are legitimately asking yourself, am I starting Tua in his third career NFL game versus the Broncos, or am I starting Tom Brady in year 20 with an offensive cast that is all-time historic? What's the conversation here? Again, tell me the player on the Miami Dolphins who is better than Antonio Brown, who is better than Mike Evans, who is better than Chris Godwin, who is better than Robert Gronkowski, who is better than Ronald Jones, who is better than Leonard Fournette. I'm waiting. I haven't seen it in the chat. Devontae Parker or Chris Godwin, who are you taking? Please, give me the name. Devontae Parker or Mike Evans? Touchdown machine Mike Evans, who are you taking? Devontae Parker or Antonio Brown? Who are you taking? Mike Gesicki or Rob Gronkowski? Who are you taking? I can keep going. This is easy. This is easy. This is easy. I just got an alert. I got the full list of players who are out this week. I can read this off to you. Adam Schefter dropping his weekly injury report at 10 p.m. Love it. It makes me so happy now. So players out this Sunday: Breeze, Myles Garrett, Zach Ertz, Joe Mixon, McCaffrey, Galladay, Swift, Amendola. Shenault is out. I did not know that, actually. So you are not playing Laviska Shenault, admittedly. Jadeveon Clowney's out. Myles Gaskin's out. David Johnson, Darnold, Watkins, and Mitchell Schwartz. All right, TS. All right, so all right, TS. I'll go back to your question: Brady or Matt Ryan? All right. I need to divide this up. I keep going back and forth. All right. So TS, I'll answer your question first. Miles, I'm going to respond to you in just a moment. Brady or Matt Ryan? In this case, I think I'm actually going to play Matt Ryan. And this is when splitting hairs actually comes into effect, right? They both probably have equal offenses, right? If you look at just the side-by-side comparison, they are very, very comparable. But I'm going to take Matt Ryan, and the reason why is just because I believe the Saints defense is worse than the Rams. Just going through what the Saints have done this season, they have turned it around recently, and there is always the chance that Marshawn Lattimore has a great game shadowing, but the reality of the situation is if Marshawn Lattimore shadows Julio Jones, congratulations, Calvin Ridley is wide open. Or if he shadows Calvin Ridley, congratulations, Julio's wide open. Todd Gurley out of the backfield, Hayden Hurst. And just if for whatever reason this game does go sideways for Atlanta, not to mention Atlanta's defense is also Swiss cheese, right? This is just another thing where the offense in conjunction with the bad defense allows Matt Ryan to consistently have the opportunity to go nuclear every single week. So I'm going to play Matt Ryan over Brady. Aaron Donald God, Miles, you just got me so twisted up. Sam Darnold is inactive. He is not playing for the Jets. It is Joe Flacco. Aaron Donald is playing. Miles, so the thing that you are missing here is you are looking at the quarterback and not who is around them. I'm going to pull up something that's going to blow your mind. And this is the point I think this is going to be the thing that really hits home. Because if this doesn't, I'm not sure what else I can tell you to possibly change your mind. I'm going to go to 2015 quarterbacks. Would it be 2015? Or would it be... There we go. All right, yep. Let's see. Whoops. I apologize. That was the wrong screen. Let's see here. Okay. So, this right here. Hang on. All right. Wait, why did this not? There we go. All right. So what I'm showing you right here is the quarterback ranking, the end of season ranking from 2015. Do you notice anything particular about this list? Do you? I'm going to hide this real quick. Do you notice anything particular about this list of players? Whoops. There we go. We have Cam Newton, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Blake Bortles, Carson Palmer, Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, Eli Manning, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Phillip Rivers, Jameis Winston. Do you notice anything about this list? Blake Bortles was the number 4 quarterback on the year. Blake Bortles was the number 4 quarterback on the year. Eli Manning was the number 10 quarterback, and that was largely in part due to Odell in his rookie season. Ryan Fitzpatrick was the number 11 quarterback on the year. 2016. Tyrod Taylor, the number 8 quarterback on the year. Blake Bortles, the number 9 quarterback on the year. Derek Carr, the number 10 quarterback on the year. Marcus Mariota, the number 12 quarterback on the year. Quarterback does not... The talent of quarterback does not matter when it comes to fantasy football. It simply doesn't. It's the offense that does. The offense makes the quarterback position. It is the reason why every single year we have 40-plus quarterbacks put up a QB1 game. Because if there is a player who gets injured, and if the matchup is right, that just leaves room if the starting quarterback gets injured and we get a backup in with an offense like what we've seen so far in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert, where we have Tyrod Taylor start and he just gets thrown in because Tyrod Taylor gets his lung punctured and Herbert goes crazy because the offense is incredible. Joe Burrow comes into a situation with T. Higgins, A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon, Gio Bernard. That's offensive weapons. It does not matter the talent of the quarterback. The offense around him makes the quarterback for fantasy football purposes. Like that, it's the way that fantasy scoring works. Fantasy football is not a game of talent. Fantasy football is not a game of on-field talent. Fantasy football is a game of stats. It is a game of garbage time points. It is a game of blowouts. It is a game of a conglomerate of numbers. And I'm going to take the team that can put up 500 passing yards, 600 total yards in a game, because that equates to more fantasy points. The Dolphins are not going to put up 400 yards of offense in any given game. They just won't. They just won't. Tampa's going to. I love conversations like this because basically what you have me doing right now is I'm just brainstorming different videos ideas now at this point, just trying to get my point across. Yes, if Tua was on the Bucs, I would absolutely start him. Because why? Because he's throwing to the same cast of weapons. My point with Brady is not even that he's Tom Brady. My point is the weapons are so much better than the weapons in Miami. That's the point. That's the point. The point is the weapons. If Tom Brady threw 75 yards to Gronk, to Evans, to Godwin, and to Antonio Brown, that is 300 passing yards. That's it. If he threw just 75 yards to all 4 of those players, congrats. If he gets a touchdown out of one of them, that is an additional 4 fantasy points. So 300 divided by 4. Whoa, that's the wrong. Hang on. 300 divided by 25 is 12. Plus 4 for the touchdown. That's a minimum of 16 fantasy points. That's 75 yards to the big 4 and a touchdown. 16 fantasy points off the bat. 16 fantasy points at a minimum you're happy with, right? You're fine. That's not going to hurt you by any means. It's simple. It's simple. I'm starting Brady. I'm starting Brady this week. Why would you not? Why would you not? Like, the thing that has me really excited, and I've talked about this a few times, I'm trying to acquire every single Tampa Bay Buccaneers that I possibly can. Every single one of them. Because the Buccaneers' upcoming schedule is ludicrous. It is unbelievable. I want to pull this up. Where are we at? The Buccaneers' upcoming schedule is going to be as followed. Kansas City, bye week, fantasy playoff, Minnesota, Atlanta, Detroit, Atlanta. I just think that's a few weeks out, and we'll see how that conversation goes, but even off the rip right now, I can't imagine you sit Tom Brady in any of those matchups. That just feels absurd. That feels absurd. Miles, flip a coin. Flip a coin. In fact, Miles, I'm gonna make a bet with you right now. I'm gonna make a bet with you right now. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me or Instagram, whatever you got. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram. If Tua outscores Tom Brady this week, I will give you a $10 gift card to whatever restaurant or fast food place you want. Let me know. You can tweet me. Literally just tweet me or DM me whatever your favorite restaurant is. If it's Chipotle, congrats. You just got free Chipotle on me. If it's McDonald's, congrats. You just got a 10-piece nugget on me, right? I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do this right now. I just think it's absurd to even try and consider sitting Tom Brady in this game. Honestly, for the rest of the season. Like, just it blows my mind. It blows my mind. So if you want to take that bet, but here's the thing. You have to start Tua. You have to start Tua. Say less? Cool. Let me know what platform you're going to follow me on. And we'll get it going from there. I'm excited about this now. This is fun. I just can't even believe that you're considering this. What has, and just for my own, just so I make sure that my facts are straight too. What's Tua done? Like, Tua did 23 versus Arizona and then 16 versus the Chargers. He looked good, right? We saw the drive at the end of the game versus Arizona, and we saw what he did last week versus the Chargers. All right, that's 2 out of 3 games. Obviously, the Rams game was a bit different because that was a primarily defensive-based game. So, I get it. I mean, I just don't know how we do Tom. I don't know how we do Brady over this one. I just don't. At Denver in the end of November. You're on Instagram? All right. I just saw a thing that said Breeze fractured 11 ribs. That sounds painful. That doesn't sound fun. Yeah, Miles, follow me on Instagram, and we'll get going. But yeah, I'll easily make this bet with you. I'm confident like this. Maybe it's closer. Maybe it's closer than I'm going to give it credit for, admittedly. But I just sitting Brady at all feels like a bad idea. Just feels like a bad idea. Yes, there was that game versus the Saints. I don't give a shit. I said that when after the game happened. I came on here and I was like, yo, it was a bad Tom Brady game. It was a fluke game, and that's it. Just flush it, keep it going. It's not going to happen again. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Tua has not thrown an interception. That is correct. So I can read you to his game logs here. I got them pulled up. Tua versus Arizona was 20 of 28 for 248 and 2. And then his game versus the Chargers, he was 15 of 25 for 196 or for 169 and 2. So no interceptions, 4 touchdowns, and a total of just about 400 passing yards. Yes. So basically, as Tua's been essentially 404 over the course of the past 2 games. All right, Miles. Again, just shoot me a DM. My DMs are open. They should be. Let me make sure. All right, I'll be on the lookout for your DM. I'm gonna have fun with this one. Remember, you gotta send me the screenshot. I'll remind you of that. I need to see the screenshot on Sunday of you playing Tua. It's the only way that this bet goes through. Only way that the bet goes through is if you play Tua. Why? Because I need you to feel the pain if Brady goes nuclear and he's on your bench. I need you to feel that pain. I need you to look at your score and be like, fuck, I should have listened to Mike. And we'll get it going. Again, I'll give you that $10 gift card to wherever your favorite restaurant is if Tua outscores Brady this week. Connor or Balaj, PPR, running back 2. Oh my God. That is a hell of a question, Chill Will. So they both terrible matchups versus Jacksonville, and versus the Jets. Ballage or Connor? Holy shit! What a question. Give me a second. I mean, I personally I will never not play James Conner. I will never not play James Conner, but there is no denying what Ballage has done. It has been a bit impressive. Just kind of coming off the street. I mean, like, the carries are there for Ballage. The offense is there for both of them. The matchup's there for both of them. Let me take a look at something real quick. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Hang on. I need to vet this one more time just to make sure. Fantasy. I'm leaning Ballage, in all honesty. I'm leaning Ballage, but I want to make sure that I'm not being stupid here. Man, it's literally dead even. It is literally dead even. Ballage or James Conner? Conner's underperformed the past 2 weeks. Snap count's been meh. All things considered. Let me pull Ballage one more time. Snap count's been meh for Ballage. Man. This is nuts. Oh, this question's gonna give me a stroke. Ballage or Conner? Is there any way? All right, here's my actual question. Who's in your flex right now? Who's in your flex right now? Because that matters right now. If I don't know, even who's your running back one? I need to know who your running back one is, and I need to know who your flex is. Chill will. Because that's going to make this a little bit easier. Because if you can find a way to play both of them, like, I don't know how you don't. T. Higgins or Michael Thomas. I'm going to play... You can't bench Michael Thomas. I love T. Higgins. I do. My gut says Higgins. My brain says Michael Thomas. My brain is smarter than my gut. Actually. I'm actually... Miles, you play Higgins. And the reason why you play Higgins is because at this point in the season, we're trying to eliminate the unknown factor. We're trying to minimize risk when it comes to fantasy football. And with that being said, we know that Higgins is going to get 8 targets for at a minimum 65 yards, and that's going to be good enough to give you some level of production for him from that wide receiver spot on your lineup. Whereas opposed to Michael Thomas, we are now getting Taysom Hill. We don't know his tendencies. We don't know if he's going to be good. Michael Thomas hasn't been good since week 0, right? He hasn't been good all year. He's been injured, in and out of the lineup. Hasn't been productive when he has been on the field. I'm going to start T. Higgins this week or Michael Thomas just because I don't like the unknown. I know what I'm going to get out of T. Higgins. That's at a minimum 8 targets, 65 yards, potential for a touchdown, and just T. Higgins' role in the offense is just super secure right now. So I'm going to side with T. Higgins over Michael Thomas, and that's a batshit crazy thing to say in 2020. All right. Let's see. Anything else here? Hang on. I have people all day have been inquiring me about Julio, or not about Julio. I'm sorry, about Calvin Ridley. Somebody just texted me what it would take to trade Calvin for Julio in a dynasty league. The answer is probably nothing. Yeah, I've been getting text all day about Calvin, and I don't have a reason to trade him. Uh, but it's been interesting. I was offered for Calvin. I was offered 2 first-round picks this year and a second-round pick. I was offered Jalen Reagor a 2021 first, or I'm sorry, Jalen Reagor a 2021 second, a 22 first, a 22 second, and a 22 third. And somebody else is now trying to offer me Julio plus. Doesn't seem like good. Doesn't seem probable that I trade him, but just the offers are pouring in. Oh God, Kamara running back 1, Higgins at flex, Julio wide receiver 1, Terry wide receiver 2. You motherfucker. You motherfucker, Chill Will. Okay. Chill Will, I know how I'm going to answer this question. It might feel like a cop-out, but I think it's going to be the thing that really makes sense for you. Looking at your opponent, if you feel like you need a touchdown, you play James Conner. If you feel like you need stability, you play Kalen Ballage. And here's why I say that. We've seen Conner. His workload has been quite inconsistent over the course of the past 3 weeks. Bad game versus Dallas. Let me pull that up real quick. We saw the bad game versus Dallas, the other bad game versus Cincinnati, the good game versus Baltimore, right? We've seen Conner be a bit up and down over the course of the past handful of weeks, and really just getting the touchdown is going to be the thing that boosts Conner up, right? Meanwhile, we've seen Ballage put up back-to-back good performances off of the basis of just basic production. 15 for 69. Yes, got in the end zone, whatever. 15 for 69 is okay. And then you look at 18 for 68. So Ballage has the safe rushing floor, where I think Conner's upside lies in getting into the end zone. So looking at your opponent, looking at your matchup, kind of breaking that down position by position, if you feel like you need a touchdown, you play Conner. If you need that safety net, you play Ballage, and that's how I would play that situation. All right, Miles says he's going to send me his team on IG. All right. Anything else here? I think I covered everything. This was fun. I really enjoyed this. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I'm scrolling through Twitter right now just to make sure. Okay. I think that's going to do it. My Instagram is right up top. It's right here. FF Vulture. I'll stay on, Miles, just so you can send me that, and then I'm going to do some live analysis here real quick. Man, can I get some tunes going? We're going to get some tunes going. Add. Let's see. Hang on. Options. Alright. Cool. Miles, I'm waiting. Is there anything else I need to cover? I really don't think so. So if you guys keep answering your start sit questions, if you guys got any more, let me know. I can show you guys something really fun actually. I'm cool showing you guys this. Where is my? Oh no, wrong. Nope, that's the wrong thing too. Okay. We're gonna go back to this properties. Let me change this out. Okay. Oh, this looks like a mess. Hot mess. There we go. This looks better. So this is my Dynasty League right now. And I'm in full tank mode. And the reason why I'm in complete and utter tank mode is because I am a piece away, I feel like, from putting together a fucking squad that has the medium age of 23. And this week, ironically enough, I'm facing the Juggernaut, so you guys can see why I decided that I wanted to pivot to tanking and then make another run at it next year where everybody's the same age. So let's just go through this Juggernaut real quick. It's Mahomes, Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook, Michael Thomas, Deontay Johnson, Kelsey, Godwin, Juju. We scroll down just a little bit more. Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Lockett, Galladay, Tim Patrick, DJ Moore, Antonio Brown, Jalen Reagor, Odell Beckham Jr. It is a fucking squad. The team I'm starting against this is projected 57 points. My opponent is projected 152. And that is, I'm starting Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I'm starting Michael Pirine, DJ Dallas, Van Jefferson, Denzel Mims, Mark Andrews, Keyshawn Vaughn, Henry Ruggs, Joey Slye, and the Rams defense, ironically enough. I'm in tank mode, and the reason why is because I have a window to get Travis Etienne from Clemson. I've talked to people who are just slightly worse than me, and it sounds like that Etienne is going to be available if I tank the right way at my pick. And if not, I should be able to get Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama, as well. I blew up my running back core in order to get multiple draft picks. I love my team where it's at right now. So you look, my running backs, just in principle, are DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson, Keyshawn Vaughn, Zach Moss, Myles Gaskin, and Michael Pirine, as well as DJ Dallas and Rashad Penny. Me and my friend did the math. Actually, ironically enough, my opponent, we did the math. And it looks like that there is no possible way that the Seahawks bring back Chris Carson. So I traded Chris Carson for a first-round draft pick. And then my wide receivers are Ruggs, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, Van Jefferson, Denzel Mims, Preston Williams, Allen Lazard, Brandon Cooks. I'm rolling in young wide receivers right now. Darnell Mooney as well. My tight ends are still really nice with Jonnu Smith and Mark Andrews. With Lamar Jackson, I always have the opportunity to compete at a given week. Cam Newton's my backup, and Jalen Hurts is just a nice to have right now because I think that there's a real possibility that he can eventually take over for the starting quarterback in Philadelphia, as crazy as that may sound. So I'm in full tank mode. I think that's just a bit of a fun behind the curtain peek where, hey, sometimes we got to do what we got to do. I'm not a big proponent of tanking, all things considered. In fact, I actually hate it, but I saw the window here where if I can tank for this 1 year, I knew I was going up against that Juggernaut anyway if I were to make it to the championship and likely was going to lose. So let's just tank for one final year, and then we can start swinging for the fences next year. I'm really excited for it. Let's see, Bobby Trees or Jefferson? Jefferson, easy. Easy. That Dallas defense is too bad, man. It's awful. And what we've seen Jefferson do so far this year, Jefferson's an easy one for me. Alright, let's see. Alright, Miles, I got the... Okay, let's see. Tua, Metcalf, Thomas, Jacobs, Cook, Dalvin, Robinson, damn, Gibson, holy shit. Brady, Higgins, Freeman, Mostert, Bernard. Jesus Christ, Miles. Yeah, dude, this is a squad. This is a really fucking good team. Holy shit. What's your record? I have to know. What's your record? What is your record with this team? Because this team easily looks like it's fucking 7-3, if I had to guess. If I had to guess, it's 7-3. I'm really impressed here. So just to run through, I don't recall if I said it out loud, but I'm just gonna kind of run through his lineup real quick out loud. His running backs are Josh Jacobs, Dalvin Cook, James Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and Devonta Freeman, as well as Raheem Mostert, Gio Bernard. That's elite. His wide receivers are T. Higgins, Michael Thomas, DK, and that's actually it. But it's still that's still an incredible wide receiver core nonetheless, right? Having those three guys. Tight end is Noah Fant, fine with it. Quarterbacks are Tua and Brady. His defense is the Saints, and his kicker is Young Hoku. You're 5-5 because bye weeks killed you when you lost close games. Interesting. I'm going to assume that you're one of the highest scoring teams in the league, though. If I had to guess, probably top 3, just looking at that. Yeah, that's a really impressive team. I'm now just trying to look at start-sit decisions here. Man, that Michael Thomas T. Higgins question is kind of crazy. And the reason why it's crazy is because I just thought of it. Yeah, you're the high-scoring team by a lot. Yeah, I figured that would be the case. Man, that Michael Thomas T. Higgins question is really still throwing me off a bit. I'm trying not to look at that Atlanta 3rd and that Washington 31st in terms of points given up to the wide receiver position. But man, I just trust T. Higgins so much now at this point. And there is always a likelihood that Michael Thomas can erupt. Like he's that level of talented, that level of a superstar. Right, but when you have Taysom Hill, who's only thrown, I think it's been 20 NFL passes, and it was all in preseason. Man, I just don't know what to expect out of Taysom Hill in this game versus Atlanta. I mean, my God, how do you start? I guess I know I'm kind of tilting, going back and forth on it now, but I'm just kind of thinking of it and like, what's the world where you actually sit Michael Thomas, right? Like T. Higgins, that's the thing. If you were to sit Michael Thomas, T. Higgins is one hell of an option to sit him for. But are you really gonna sit Michael Thomas? Are you really gonna do it? Well, I'm gonna pull up T. Higgins. Excuse me. Higgins. Yeah, I mean, shit. It's so funny. Honestly, it's all year. Like, that's the thing that's fucking insane. I'm just going to read you T. Higgins' target numbers every game this season. 6'9", 7'8", 8'5", 9'9". Yardage. 35, 40, 77, 62, 125, 71, 78, 115. He doesn't let you down. Receptions, 3, 5, 4, 4, 6, 5, 6, 7. Fantasy points, 5, 18.5, 11, 8.2, 15.7, 16.3, 11.4, 18. Like, yo, fuck. Fire up T. Higgins. Just do it. Fire up T. Higgins this week. Logan Thomas, Taysom Hill, ESPN. Listen. Chill, Will. You missed it. I'm starting Taysom Hill at tight end this week. I'm doing it in ESPN. I'm so excited for it. I've never been more excited for anything in my life. If you have Taysom Hill and am not starting him at tight end, you are doing it wrong this week. Because the reality of the situation is Taysom Hill legitimately is going to put up at a minimum, 8 fantasy points. How many tight ends are going to put up 8 fantasy points this week? 5? If that, right? Taysom Hill. It's Taysom Hill because the upside of him putting up 18 is there. It's there. Yes, absolutely you play Taysom Hill. Absolutely you play Taysom Hill. I'm so excited for it. I was really hoping, and I know Mina Kimes tweeted this as well, I want Taysom Hill in primetime. Oh my god, I want Taysom Hill in primetime for this game. Because we're going to get pissed off fantasy Twitter and pissed off Saints Twitter all into one and football nerds, and it's going to be this giant explosion of just sky-high emotions to the max for Taysom Hill at quarterback. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so much looking forward to Taysom Hill and playing him at my tight end position this week, and I can't wait for my league to throw a fucking fit about it because we exploited the system this week. All right, y'all. It is 10:45. I've been going now for almost 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 13 minutes to be exact. I appreciate you guys coming through. Chill Will, Miles, TS, Killian. Let's keep going up here. Blue Crew, Fabian, Troy, Anton. Thank you all so much for checking out the stream. Really appreciate you guys' support. Hit that subscribe button down below if you guys want to see more from me. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed. Miles, I'm looking forward to our bet this weekend, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully you guys secure that victory and you guys find a way to make yourself closer to the fantasy football playoffs. Remember, people come and go, but fantasy championships are forever, and I will see you in the next video.